We are here back with MBT. You asked for him, and he has returned. The old Magic the Gathering player rates Magic the Gathering cards. We know how much you love to see that. We just did a Marincess Blue Tang episode, so unfortunately you were not able to participate in that one, else you would have gotten those right. But today, we're doing Magic the Gathering cards. This time we're having all 5 Magic cards from all 5 different colors of Magic like we did last time. So we're just going to run that back. We have a white card, blue, a card, black card, red card, and a green card. No colorless or multicolored cards today, but we'll see if you can do just as well as you did last time, and that is setting a very low bar.
I was going to say, what did I end up, 3-2?
I believe it was 3-2 or 2-3. I can't remember.
I missed out on Wrenn and Realmbreaker, which I'm still not convinced about. I still feel that I was secretly right about that.
Did you check the comments on that, by the way?
You know I did.
I figured.
Against my better judgment, I did. And let me just say right now, if I see any negative comments on this one, I'm coming. I'm going to be throwing hands. Prepare for fisticuffs.
Okay, it's on. Starting with the first card, it's going to be a white card. And this one is going to be
Sarah Paragon. Oh, it's Sarah Angel. This has way more text than Sarah Angel did. All right. 2 and 2 whites. It's an angel flying. Once during each of your turn, you may play a land from your graveyard or cast a permanent spell with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard. When you do, it gains when this permanent is put into a graveyard from the battlefield. Exile it, and you gain 2 life. Wow. This is a hard card to think about. What's the context for this one? Are they like, is this in like a standard legal set, or I'm not familiar with this little thing here on the bottom right.
Every card I'm showing you is currently in standard.
Well, it's a damn sight better than Sarah Angel, I'll say that. So,
Sarah Angel always has her place.
I'm noticing about this card. They have taken great lengths to prevent it from being Yawgmoth's Bargain. They're like, okay, listen, we understand that if you could just cast shit from your graveyard, it would be the greatest card ever.
Yeah.
And we understand that that's not okay at any mana cost. So I get like, okay, she can bring back little cards. I can see some use cases for this card where you get like immediate value off of casting like a 0 mana card. You know, this may sound kind of out there, but I'm thinking like maybe like the Pure Steel Paladin modern deck. If people still play that, you could just play it and start casting the equipments back from the grave, but that might be too attenuated. The land is really speaking to me. You can cast it and then play a land from your graveyard. That's crazy. This little ability that the permanent gets, I'm sure is a real hassle to track. So like you have to, let's say you play this card and then you play like a land from your grave. You just have to remember that land was a Sarah land. And if it ever gets like destroyed, the game that sucks.
Not that the land would get destroyed, but yeah. Well, usually.
Yeah, just hey Kona. This is hard.
To answer your other question, or to respond to your presumption from before, the Pure Steel Paladin deck in Modern is still playable.
Really? Wait.
It's
when I was playing, it was like fringe playable.
No. It's pretty powerful. It's like one of the top 15 decks of the format.
Do they still call it Cheerios? Does it still do the same thing? You play Pure Steel Paladin and then a bunch of 0-cost things?
Oh, I'm talking about Hammer Time. You heard about that deck?
There's another Pure Steel Paladin deck? Hammer Time is like Rhino Hammer?
No, a Colossus Hammer. It's a 1-mana. It's a 1-mana artifact that is equip 8, and it gives something 10/10.
Card.
It gives something 10 +10/+10 and loses flying. And that deck revolves around Colossus Hammer and killing your opponent with like an Inkmoth Nexus or something. It's a Stoneforge Mystic deck as well.
They gotta take some stuff away from you modern players. you all got to get out of the kitchen at some point and start touching grass.
They keep cooking.
Yeah, it is, if nothing else, very funny that cookbook deck exists specifically in that format. I don't know what's going on with this card. Okay, well that makes me feel like it's a lot worse because that Pure Steel Paladin deck not playing a bunch of zeros means you don't immediately get value off this. So on one hand, I'm like, this is a ton of value on an individual card. On the other hand, I'm like, it doesn't immediately do anything. Like, you do have to either be so up on mana that you can immediately cast something good out of your graveyard, which like 5 is a lot to get to in any format. Um, the land thing is fun, but like if you play a land, that means that you are not casting it on 4. You know, this to me is one of those cards that just screams, this is so breakable. There are so many use cases for this card. God, you could like bring back 0 mana rocks and shit. Imagine bringing back Lotus with this, but I think it's a trick. I think it is just not good enough. I think being a 3/4 that does nothing on ETB, stands there for a turn, theoretically could bring back something if you're already way ahead, I think is, this is just me pulling analysis out of the ether because I'm not super familiar with the power level of the cards surrounding this, but I think it is only okay.
You are correct. I thought I was going to get you with this card so much. Yeah, it is just an okay card. Not very playable. It's seen play in the past. People have tried to break it because I'm sure you've heard of the card Luris of the Dream Den that does a similar thing, but doesn't exile the card.
Oh, the companion?
Yes.
Oh, but I thought the good part about that card is that it's always in your hand.
Oh, that too, but the effect is just that good on top of it, like being able to bring that back 0 mana stuff and things like that.
Ooh, a 3/3 for 3 that's just always in your hand? Crazy.
It's a 3/2 lifelink for 3, and it can cast things out of your graveyard that are mana value 2 or less. The thing about Luris is that the card doesn't actually get exiled. They tried to like power whatever that's called, this card, and then like make it, you know how Yu-Gi-Oh does that all the time, right? They're like, oh, let's make a Pot of Greed, but worse. And they do that like 7 times. They do that with this card, and it just didn't end up being good enough. So good job on this one. I try to make it super hard for you because, you know, you have some Magic knowledge and you have some context and everything, just not context on current cards. So these ones that are coming up are going to be pretty hard. So let's go to the blue one.
Ooh, Cryptic Coat. Oh, it's a colored artifact.
Yeah.
We love colored artifacts.
Whoa.
Neat little card. Cold Snap. That had colored artifacts. I just love how the frame looks. Cryptic Coat. When Cryptic Coat enters the battlefield, cloak. Oh my god. The top card of your library, then attach Cryptic Coat to it. Cloak a card, put it onto. These keywords, man.
But it explains
to cloak a card, manifest it onto the battlefield as a 2/2 creature with Morph 2. Turn it face up any time for its mana cost if it's a creature card.
Ward 2,
Equipped creature
not Morph 2.
Yeah. It can't be blocked. And then return Cryptic Coat to its owner's hand.
You familiar with the ward mechanic?
With ward?
Yes, like Amalia Benavides Aguirre. With the ward,
yeah,
pay
I think we
life.
Talked about it last time.
This is ward, pay 2 mana.
Yeah. Okay, I got a couple of questions here. What happens if Cryptic Coat is removed from the field before the creature flips up? The creature remains face down and can be flipped up as for its mana cost?
That ability, if the ability is not countered, will still happen.
Okay. And then for cards that aren't permanents, what happens?
They cannot be flipped face up if it's not a creature. It just stays as a 2/2 with ward 2.
All right, so the first thing that is kind of immediately popping out to me here is that this is one of those cards that if you have infinite mana, you win the game immediately. You just draw your whole deck here, right?
So your whole deck gets to be on the board, basically, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have infinite mana, you can then flip up, like, I guess, 2 creatures that just kill your opponent. I imagine there's, like, 2 guys that...
Yeah. Like, if you have, like, a 2-card creature combo, it can win the game. If you have a creature that's like a huge creature with haste, it can win the game. Things like that.
This doesn't look very good outside of that. It's a lot of mana to invest in just a guy. It's cool that the guy is hard to kill, and is, you know, I guess that's all I really have to say about it. Theoretically, infinite value as you continue to return the coat to the hand. So now I have to decide: do I think there's it's so powerful of a payoff for like an infinite mana combo that it sees play, or do I think that it's kind of crappy? It really is a 1-card combo though. That is pretty nice. It's so breakable. I am going to say that this card is not a good enough payoff. I'm going to say it's kind of crappy.
This card is pretty good.
Oh.
And it is not for the reason that you said. Yes, it can be an infinite combo, an infinite mana payoff, but if you're doing that, there's probably better cards to infinite mana payoff, like a Walking Ballista, than this card. Also, this card is, the use case of this is something that you didn't mention, and that is just being a really, really annoying threat against decks that have against like removal decks. Because you can choose to remove the 2/2 and then pay the extra 2 mana, or if you choose to remove this, they'll just pay 1 and a blue in response and add it back to their hand and then cast it again. So are you really using a card to remove this? You're not, because this can like dodge the removal. So very, very good card against like control decks or removal decks, and it is a main deck card in Modern right now in Stoneforge Mystic decks that search this, and then it's even played in the sideboard of like a couple Pioneer decks that are centered around artifacts. That is just a really annoying card against blue-white control to beat. An annoying card against like black-red mid-range. Very, very annoying card, and sometimes actually impossible to kill if the person just leaves 1 and a blue mana up to add it back to their hand in response to removal. So this card is very annoying in that way, and it's an interesting use case that you didn't mention.
So that's fun. That's like the I think the best possible outcome for a card like this.
Yeah, it's like we can break this, but it's also a good fair card.
But you don't understand. It's a blocker every turn.
Yeah.
It can't kill the guy.
Yeah, that's like the classic mid-range Magic player response. It's good in the bad matchups. All right, let's go ahead and go on to the black card. The last black card I gave you in the other video was interesting because that was the Demonic Tutor card, and this is nothing like that, but it's still a cool, interesting black card.
Biting Palm. Oh my god. Oh. What is... Oh, I don't like that. There's a tongue coming out and everything.
It's a biting palm.
Yeah, no, I don't worry. I get it. All right, so this has ninjutsu. Holy guacamole, they brought ninjutsu back. This is if a ninja is what, unblocked, you can pay the ninjutsu cost and it comes in.
If any creature is unblocked.
Oh, that's cool. Ninjutsu costs the same as the mana cost. I imagine that will make sense in a sec. Biting Palm Ninja enters the battlefield with a menace counter on it. Does the counter give it menace?
Yep. And if you take the counter off, it no longer has menace.
All right. Whenever Biting Palm Ninja deals combat damage to a player, you may remove a menace counter from it. When you do, that player reveals their hand and you choose a non-land card from it, exile that card. Oh boy. So menace here does refer to the has to be blocked by 2 or more guys, right?
Correct.
So if you attack with a stinker, they're unblocked, you ninjutsu this person in, you have another opportunity to declare blockers, or is this person also unblocked?
It's also unblocked. They're past the blocking step.
So the reason it has ninjutsu is because that's the only scenario in which you actually want to cast this thing.
You could, in theory, just cast this, and then there's cards that can put menace counters on creatures, and then you can like maybe proliferate the menace counters to like keep doing that. But the use case is doing the ninjutsu thing, of course.
Okay, so I'm coming at this from a Yu-Gi-Oh perspective, which is probably quite different than a Magic perspective. Yeah. In that we will pay through the nose to take cards out of the hand. I mean, we will do anything. We played Infernoble for years, and all that deck did was loop 1.
I knew
you were like, oh man.
you're like smoke grenade. Oh my gosh, it's broken.
Yeah. Inversely, in Magic, Thoughtseize and Inquisition are legal at the same time and played in the same deck, and everyone's okay with it. Everyone's okay with that. Yeah. You know, the legacy of Hymn to Torok and its consequences.
Yep.
To me, as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, this reads as an incredible hand rip. You know, you pick the card, it's exiled, you get to see the whole hand. I mean, that's nuts. But it's a lot of mana. That's 3 mana to exile 1 card. If you're in black, you probably have little dudes that are maybe getting in, or maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. I don't think I can, no matter how much I try and talk myself out of it. I don't think that I can overrule my Yu-Gi-Oh instincts. I think taking cards out of the hand is just so strong. Yeah. I'll say that this card is good.
This card is not good.
Oh.
Yu-Gi-Oh players in the comments in absolute shambles.
Yeah, I figured this card was on here because hand rip is so good in Yu-Gi-Oh! And you're like, oh, he's gonna way overvalue the hand rip, and I walked into it. I just fell for it.
It's falling for it after you see the trap too, because like you see the bear trap, and you're like, what happens if I step in it? Yeah. So yeah, this card is not good. For the reason that the rate is pretty bad. 2 and a black. If this was 1 and a black, it would be playable. If it was 1 black mana, it would be really powerful.
Oh yeah.
But the thing is, this is pressure and hand rip. That in the beginning, when this card first came out, it was a little bit hyped when it first came out. But you have to play mediocre cards to make this mediocre card better. And you know as well as anyone that doing that probably means you're playing a bad deck. So yeah, that's kind of how this card ended up. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the red card. And just like Cryptic Coat in the cloak mechanic, this will introduce another new mechanic.
Listen, I appreciate the cool stuff you can do with Magic the Gathering, but it feels like every week at this rate, I see a new card online where you can just see that the designer of the card wanted you to think that they were the cleverest boy on the planet.
100%.
Like, no, I'm a genius. Check this out. When this case enters the battlefield, discard a card, then draw 2 cards. To solve, you have no cards in hand. You go Hellbent. If unsolved, solve at the beginning of your end step. And then as solved at the beginning of your upkeep, discard your hand, then draw 2 cards. Okay.
Little bit of flavor. This card was in the bottom right. You see that the set symbol. It's a set called Murders at Karlov Manor, and it was all about solving cases. So they made an actual case card, and this is a whole group of cards that are cases. Just in case you needed to know.
Every 3 months, the Tarmogoyf grows larger. I guess this is just a subtype, right? Enchantment.
It's case. So funny because the Modern Horizons 3 Commander decks, which is already an oxymoron, has a whole Tarmogoyf, has like a bunch of Tarmogoyf cards that are brand, and they're all Tarmogoyfs that do different things, and only for Commander.
Oh, well, back in my day, we would call it a Lurgoyf that does different things, of which Tarmogoyf was one.
Oh yes, God, that is true. I shouldn't have said Tarmogoyf. I should have said Lurgoyf.
Lurgoyf is lost to time. That card didn't age well. Whomst in the comments remembers Mortivore. All right, when this case enters the battlefield, discard. Okay. The thing that's jumping out to me here is that this, like, discard a card, then draw 2 cards. That's already fine. I remember a time when people were playing, not Faithless Looting. That's 1 red, right?
Yep.
They were playing that terrible red card with flashback. That's draw 2, discard 1 at random. God, it's an Innistrad, like, uncommon. I'll figure it out later.
I don't remember that one, but some people play Cathartic Reunion sometimes in Modern.
It's like you get to choose and then you draw. Seems pretty crazy. There's like a lot of stuff you could bin there. Having no cards in hand. I imagine like you're meant to play this as a curve topper in like a super aggro red deck where like you will just go Hellbent early. And then when you go Hellbent, rather than drawing 1 per turn, you get Owling Mine, but in a weird way. And I hate to do this for like 4 cards in a row, but this card does not look very good to me. It seems like a lot of mana in a deck that wants to play their entire hand, and then the payoff seems only okay.
This card is good. And it is exactly for what you said. Multiple fast red decks play this in the sideboard as a way to refill the hand after their... Mainly in like super mono red. There's also a red-green prowess deck that does that in Pioneer. And also, like, obviously I say obviously, but if a Pioneer deck's playing it, Standard's probably also playing it. Pioneer's much higher power level. but the fast red decks in Standard are also playing this in the sideboard. I've seen some people play this in the main deck as well, just for the exact thing that you mentioned.
You all are paying 3 mana in red deck wins. What happened to this once great nation?
There is another card that's played in red deck wins that's 3 mana, so there's multiple of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had to give you a little bit of digestion there. All right, let's go ahead and go on to the green card. This is the last card.
But I am 1 for 4, so stakes are high on this one.
You have to make this one count.
Oh.
I made sure to give you another keyword.
Axebane Ferox, Death Touch Haste, great keywords. Ward, collect evidence for. Okay, so I like that they put the text of Ward in here. Like that's the part people are going to need to learn. Whenever this creature becomes the target, counter it unless exiles cards with total mana value 4 or greater from their. Just give the card hexproof. Oh my god.
Just make it a freaking. What's that 6 mana card that's played that had hexproof back in the day? The big trample 7 or 5 drop. It was like a huge 7/6 trample. Or was it a 6 drop?
Oh god. No, I don't fuck with green.
Anyway.
Slippery boggle?
Some tyrant.
Okay. I've been wrong all day saying exactly this. There's just no way that this card is good. 4 mana, haste. It gets chump blocked all day. You can trade with it. There's nothing preventing you from just trading with it. And the ward cost is you never have to make any sort of decision. It's just you have it or you don't. It's not a huge downside to banish stuff from your grave. Either you'll be able to target it or you won't. Yeah, there's just no way this card is good. I can't get behind this card being good in any world. It's so much mana for so few stats. It just gets chumped. Please God, this card can't be good.
This card is bad.
Oh my god. This is like my entire internal sense of balance completely destroyed if this card is good.
Gosh, this video is making you rethink everything you know about Magic the Gathering, for sure. Yeah, this card wasn't. I don't even think this card was hyped when it came out, and it just came out just recently in the same set, The Murders of Karlov Manor. And yeah, for all the things that you said, it just gets trumped. Either you can kill this or you can't. I thought you might have gotten a little bit tricked up on this basically meaning hexproof, because like it takes a while maybe to get things in the graveyard. But yeah, either it has hexproof or you don't, and either you chump block it or you don't, and maybe this card kills you every once in a while, but you can chump this. It's not like it has trample. So
yeah,
there's a different card I was going to show you that was like a 4 mana 6/5 flash trample. But it was only, but it was only flash if you control a desert, and who knows how good deserts are.
I remember for a long time back when I was playing, green was far and away the worst color. Like they just weren't giving green good cards. And I think I dipped out as that ended. But God, we were hyping anything back in the day. I remember people being like, Pelucranos is like a $40 mythic. This card's gonna go crazy. And oh my god. I mean,
the monstrosity
even
one?
With that amount of copium that I have lived through, I could not get hype about this card.
I don't know if I could have given you any green card. You were like, this card sucks. It looks cool, but just not going to be good.
I mean, in order for you to trick me with a green card, you have to give me one with a lot of text on it, and I go, "Oh, it's great, it's perfect."
This is a lot of text.
I can't believe
just
I did
all
worse.
reminder text.
Oh my god!
I had to make sure that I gave you yet another mechanic. So
yeah,
the collect evidence mechanic has everything to do with like being pseudo delve, like exiling things out of
your. They're trying very hard. The problem with delve. It was broken as hell, but the problem is it was also so good. It was so fun. We loved delving. We loved delving. We loved digging through time. We loved going on the cruise. We loved that stupid fish that people played.
Yep, the Gurmag
Angler. We hardly knew ye. Is he still around? Do people still play him in crap?
No, not at all. Card sucks.
It always struck me as a card that had a lifespan attached to him. It's like, this card is...
Same thing with Tassiger, basically.
It was so funny when people got off of Tasigur for Angler because they were like, it's 1 mana cheaper. Like you never have to play the other black.
Yeah. But yeah,
Oh,
Tasigur has
God.
had their time in the sun and no longer really a playable card.
Oh, cute.
Yep. But anyways, that is all I have for you today. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, very happy to be here. You're kind of selling me on Pioneer. This Cryptic Coat is such what a cool card. I'm just thinking about it this whole time. Like, what an interesting thing to be playable.
Since you're so anti-green, you must be so pro-blue. So I should just give you do an episode of just all blue cards, and then have you go wild on every single one of them.
I am a little pro-blue. I am not beating the allegations here today.
Yeah. So maybe down in the comments, if you'd like an entirely blue episode, I can definitely do that. Let me know, and then if you'd like to come back, we can do one of those like next month or something.
For sure. I know you all are shocked that someone who showed up, was super arrogant, and then was wrong about the majority of the cards plays blue. It's shocking, I'm sure, but in fact, that is the case.
Yeah, I counter your spell. Wrong spell, man. Wrong spell.
No need. I've already determined if it will resolve. Oh my God.
As always, thank you for stopping by. And hey, if you're down in the comments, if you want another episode from the MBT, let me know. And if you have any questions, any cards you want him to evaluate, or anyone else to evaluate for that matter, go ahead and leave them in the comments below, because that's where I go to find cards. So anyway, I have to end this by saying you can get 7% off of anything in the store at prodigygames.com by using the code JAME7. 7% off of anything sounds pretty good. I will see you again next time, and as always, peace.